chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to College Volleyball Weekly, episode 281, the championship episode. The championship hasn't happened yet. I'm going to try and get this episode up quickly. But on screen, Jay Hosick of George Mason, Theo Edwards of CSUN, and Brad Rostratter in the baby compound in La Jolla, California of UC San Diego. That's right. He's getting close to that judgment day of having a little one. Bless his entire life from here on out.
If I run out of here mid podcast, you know why.
Well, we had a week full of action, and from the NCAA quarters to the semis, and now the finals tonight. But there's some news items I wanted to hit on first, some announcements that were made that are always an important and a great part of the national championships, and that's naming of some of the award recipients that weren't disclosed to us in releases during the week. And the first of those I want to jump on is the Elite 90 Award. And yes, it's the highest GPA of any participant at the championships. And Long Beach State's Georgi Bayanev was the recipient of that award. So congratulations to Georgi, another big brain awarded that great piece of honor. So, but one of the awards that is new for this year, and please confirm for me if I am correct on that, is the AVCA Distinction of Excellence Award. And I'm reporting on it because I'm a homer, because it's Hilir, Henno of UC Irvine. No, actually, I thought it was a great award. And the award that, and let me get the description of that here for you. The award recognizes the student athletes whose contribution to the sports extends beyond accolades, uniting generational athletic excellence with personal integrity, academic commitment, and long-term impact. So I wanted to get you guys a comment on what to me is the inaugural award recipient, Hilir Henno, and the meaning of this award. So whoever wants to jump in, please feel free.
I think to me, I think it's a worthy and cool perspective, especially given with how the season ended for Irvine and them not receiving an at-large bid, even though they were deserving and really, really close and in contention. And with the season and really the career of Henno ending almost abruptly in some ways, or it felt like that, to pay respect and honor him. And because I remember, a few years ago, we're talking about all these junks and jams and these two-handed throwdowns. And now you see that so prevalent within the NCAA men's volleyball game. So when we're talking about an impact, greater than his team and greater than the people they're playing against and just other people, I think we see that, and we're going to see that more tonight. And he's not the only one who did it, but he was really the first guy that made it such a huge piece of his game, kind of within this new iteration of NCAA volleyball and attacking and creativity and recycling and utilizing the block and the junks and the jams more. So I think from that perspective, it's really cool. And he's just a really great competitor and a high character individual as well within that.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I talked a little bit with Niff at the end of the year, and Niffin had some really, really, really awesome stuff to say about Hilir, and specifically just how grateful he had become towards the end of his career. And like there were a lot of moments where Niff was talking about how he would just pause and take a moment and just thank his team, thank his coaches, in random moments in practice. Just so grateful for the opportunity and what this game has done for him. And I think, we've all talked about this quite a bit. We love this game from a game perspective and a sport perspective. But it truly is life-changing. And a guy like Hilir Henno, I think back to when I played this game and was in the Final Four in 2010. And if I had seen what Hilir was doing at that point in time, I wouldn't have believed it. The game has come such a long way, and Hilir has been such a big part of that. So really, really cool to see him get honored. And it's one hell of a story to tell, and it's been pretty cool to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll these two nailed on the head. There's nothing more to expand on. I'll just say, hey, another award that gives us some recognition that we can rally around. And I think it was a deserving recipient. So congratulations to Hilir, and, go on to bigger and better things now, kid.
Well, I only add that seeing his transformation as a freshman all the way to this final year of his career, he has matured so much as a player, an individual, just as a man. The decisions, the way his reactions were as year one versus now in year four, and he has taken on the mantle of leadership well. He followed guys like Francesco Sani and Schneidmiller and all these low key guys, and he just kind of mended into his own man. And the other thing I needed to point out is you have to realize he is a left-handed, left side hitter, successful at the highest parts of the game.
I don't know if I call him a strict left side hitter. He hits it everywhere.
Well, he's listed as a left side hitter.
Yeah, no, I get it. He was a passer, and those are obviously, indicative of that position, but he hit from everywhere. So he was what, what old school coaches would call a utility player, and he could do everything. If you wanted to play middle one day, he'd probably do really, really well at that too.
Yep. Well, he now has tied the career record aces in the NCAA, and also there was one other tidbit I had that's surpassing me, but he is definitely going to be missed in that program because he brought so much attention to it based on his play and what he was doing. But we turns out this weekend we got another Frenchman coming in, I found out. So we'll talk about that at a later episode. Wanted to jump to the other history-making piece, and that's the AVCA Coach of the Year, going to its first female ever, Nikki Sandland. And I know she's highly known, respected, and loved by each of you guys on the screen. So share a little bit about Nikki.
I'll go quickly. Nikki, we all know Nikki. I've known her for years, and we knew she was badass when she came on the scene. And the fact that she coached not only the men's team and brought that program up into prominence, but she also coached the women's team at the same time for a long time. In fact, is she still doing it? I don't even know off the top of my head. No, I thought it was recent she stopped doing both, but that's not an easy task. And, for her, it's great recognition for obvious reasons, but it just, it breaks another ceiling. It's a female coach of a men's program getting an award, and that's pretty cool. And Nikki is well deserving. And just kudos to her and the work she's put in over the years. So nice job, Nikki. Congrats, coach.
All right.
Yeah, I couldn't be more proud of Nikki. I actually did talk to her a little bit about after she had received the award, and what she's done in men's volleyball has been incredible by any metric for any coach. But to be the first female coach, female head coach to do it and to receive this honor, and not only that, but the first Black female head coach in a landscape that historically just has not been incredibly diverse. I've just been incredibly proud of her. I think, it's interesting. I was telling her I had shown Nikki's path and everything that she's done to my daughter, and it stirred up an interest for her in the game, in men's volleyball. And I think a lot of times that's what it takes. You see someone who looks like you and is like you, and it has a major impact on what you do. So incredibly proud of Nikki. This season was definitely a historic one for her and for McKendree, and well deserved. Incredible.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just echoing everything that everyone else said, and then adding on top of it, I think, the true sign of a great leader is someone who's able to truly be authentically themselves. And really, since I've known Nikki now almost 10 years, and whether it was like those first USA camps to where she is now or anywhere in between, she's always been exactly who she is. And I think there's nothing more commendable and respectable. And you see it with how athletes she brings in and how they are themselves as well, how they compete, how hard they play. So just an amazing person. Obviously, I think it's a little bit award for her and well-deserved, but also a lot of well-deserved recognition for McKendree and that program and all the work that's gone into it. And having a few alumni close to me and close to my program here in San Diego, it's really cool to see that culminate into this for her and for the rest of the McKendree Bearcats.
Yeah. Well, I only got to admire Nikki from a distance up until last year because McKendree played at Irvine for the first time in program history. But everything that I'd known and seen about her, I'd always be at events where she's at a USAV NTDP, but she's working. So I never got to talk with her, but you could see that she had such a great countenance and presence coaching the young men on each of the courts that she was on. And when I finally met her last year and got to sit and talk to her, she has such a great presence, and you could see the way that the guys respond to her, that there was nothing but success emanating from each of her pores, and she's able to get what she needed out of her guys and more. And that's why the program was so successful this year, particularly. So kudos to Nikki. Truly an honor to meet her last year, but I mean, great honor for her to receive this historic achievement, Coach of the Year. So great, Nikki. And that means we go on to the final award that was revealed. Well, actually, it's 2 awards, but is given to one person. And it's a no shocker. We've all been talking about him all year long. Mooney Nicolov, the AVCA freshman and the National Player of the Year. Gentlemen, have at it.
What else can be said? We knew about him when he came on the scene that he was going to be somebody special, and ended up doing those things. And he and his brother have the same distinction. However, he has an opportunity tonight to do something his brother didn't do, which is win a national title. And so, you want to talk about icing on the cake, that'd be a fitting way for him to go out. But, what needs to be said that we haven't said already, and I'll be honest with you, there's not much. We knew, all his serving prowess, we knew his setting skills, we knew his court presence, we knew all those things. And now, he's on the biggest match of his life, so to speak, and he has an opportunity to do something pretty cool. So hats off, congrats, it's, well-deserved. And I know there were other guys that were in that mix that people are talking about that are also well-deserving, but I think the right guy got the job, or got the award.
Yeah.
Yeah. With how the season unfolded for him and for Long Beach, I think it ended up being pretty clear. I know when we talked maybe like a month in that, we were thinking it was probably more of a 2-horse race between Nicolov and Henno. And I think kind of with how everything went down, it was very clear, at least in my eyes, for both those awards, from his serve to his setting in system and out of system, to his defense and his block. Like really in every phase of the game, he was one of the best in his position, if not the best. And I think that's a true sign, especially in such a valuable position at setter. And you saw it with Long Beach playing a few different outside hitters, a few different opposites, a few different middles, and him really being the guy to keep everyone on course.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is, we've talked about him all year, and these guys hit it on the head. I want to go back to what Rock said over the summer. And I think it was something along the lines of 15 setters have been better than this. Yeah, I don't think that's possible to say that anymore. I think Moni has officially shot down that argument. No, but in all seriousness, I think you look at every facet of what Moni is as a volleyball player, and there's versions of him that I think are arguably some of the best that we've ever seen, from a serving perspective, from a setting perspective, from a physicality. It's the comparison to me is very LeBron-esque. And don't jump on me, Jordan fans. I got to point to that, okay?
Kobe.
Don't jump on me, Kobe fans. The extreme difference between LeBron and everybody else that's in the conversation is just size, right? It's 6'9" and massive, and Moni is that, right? We've seen a lot of really, really great setters, but we just haven't seen one that big and that physical and athletic, with a big serve and just a massive presence, right? I mean, we saw many matches this year where he led in point scoring, while leading in aces, while leading in assists, while leading in hitting percentage. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. So yeah, he's redefined the game quite a bit and set a new standard for what all tall setters should be looking to be. Pretty cool.
And I think kind of on that with Theo is like what really stands out is obviously he's big, obviously he jumps well, But what's so impressive is just his fluidity, and you see it in some of their out of system situations where he could be at the net, ball gets played, and then he's able to transition in 2-3 steps. And yeah, he's big, so he's got long legs, but there's not too many athletes in the NCAA that are moving like that are able to play a ball, have the libero or an outside hitter step in and set, and be able to get 14, 15 feet off in 2-3 steps, and then be able to go and attack with range down the line or high off the block. It's where, like, as you're watching tonight, watch how smoothly, when he knows he's not setting, watch how smoothly he puts himself in a position to attack. And that's, if you're an attacker, we'd call that transition. But for him, it's just like him finding ways to make an impact and make a play greater than just what the typical setting role would be.
Yeah. So I've worked with a few analysts this year, and it's funny. It's not a knock on Moni by any means. It's more of a compliment. They said the worst part of his game is his setting. And if that's the case, I mean, he does so many other things well. There matches multiple times this year where a team is recovering in an out of system play or a broken play, and he's trying to free ball it over, and he'll get the one timer. He'll get that junk. They'll try and set it over easily, and he's just waiting because he knows he's got this big swing. He's a big force, takes a lot of air space and real estate on the court, and he gets those charity kills. He's just it's been funny.
He eliminates, most teams when they have to shoot a ball over, free ball a ball over, they'll shoot it over to the zone one, the right back, because half the time your setter's back then. If you take your setter out, then all of a sudden you're in a better position blocking defense wise. And he eliminates that ball from being able to go in that zone. If he's front row, that's a dangerous place to put it, because if you're just a little bit lower than you want to be, you're going to pay the price for that. So
just ask Joe Carlos and Cooper Robinson. Their video has gone viral. They've gone over 500,000 views on those free balls over in zone one.
Well, and Rob, to kind of piggyback off your comment, right? So if the worst part of his game is his setting, they're hitting 400 on the year. And let's just assume that their non-setter setting is a little bit worse than when Moni has the ball, right, and is in system. What are they hitting just off Moni? And if that's the worst part of his game, that's just unbelievable. I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. So unprecedented. What a great player.
And that's why he's on that Bulgarian 25-man roster they just released with his brother Alex. VNL is going to be one gauntlet of play.
Should it be fun to watch him play at that level this summer and just see, how it translates. He's already been with that team, so it's not like we haven't seen it already, but to see it this year, now that people are really aware of him, and you're going to see just one of the greatest young setters of all time coming out.
Well, and he's improved so much. Like to give Long Beach some credit, to give him some credit in terms of his work ethic. His back set was nowhere near what it is now. His release, his touch, his feel for the game is really, really expanded. And his dynamics are just absolutely incredible. So it'll be really interesting. That first run he had for Bulgaria and VNL was great. He was really, really good, did some special things, but he lacked in some areas. And it'd be interesting to see now coming back if he's the player that they need to actually try and make a run. I know that their goal is to make the 2028 Olympics. Be interesting to see if they're able to get it done with Moni.
Yeah. Well, the other two things I wanted to point out that we've never seen, and I don't know if we'll actually see this again, but they call it the Moni Effect. And that is the stuff that you don't see statted, you don't see in the play, but you see the crowds numbering the hundreds, waiting for pictures or autographs, just wanting to get a glimpse of Mooney Nicolov. And then you add in the other fact, how many venues were sold out this year because Moni was going to be at that match. And those are the things that we don't see on the stat column, but he created quite a buzz for men's volleyball, which we're all appreciative of. It's created such a great attention to the game. So, not only seeing great play from Moni, thank you, Moni, for bringing more eyes to the game. And it's so needed. So anything else on Moni? All right. Well, that brings us, we were going to break down quarters, but I think we're going to jump straight to the semis. So we've got our volley nerds here who have access to volley metrics and all this great resources, as well as a great knowledge base of what they saw. But let's start with semifinal number 1. Pepperdine versus Long Beach State. Obviously, 3-1 win for the Beach, but wanted to get your guys' take on what we saw in that first semi.
Well, I think in the first set, Pepperdine, I don't want to take away anything from their season. They had a great season, ups and downs like everybody else, but they finished really, really strong. Pepperdine was playing with house money. Nobody mentioned them as being the potential MPSF winner. They were all talking about UCLA. They were all talking about USC. And Pepperdine and Stanford were kind of in conversations, but nobody really put weight behind them winning it all. So Pepperdine comes into this tournament, and that first set, they were hitting on all cylinders. They were firing. They hit 478 to Long Beach's 279 in that first set. And I think for me, watching that, getting that first set gives you some confidence going into the rest of the match, and that's good. But you saw Long Beach kind of settle down a little bit. The first set looked like Nicolov was not connecting very well with Nato Dickinson, the opposite. It looked like their sets were off. There was a lot of tips and a lot of shots that Nato didn't look comfortable with, and the sets weren't there. So you knew that could be a challenge moving forward if they didn't fix it. Obviously, they fixed it pretty well because he hit 485 at the end of the day, and it's pretty good.
What's short of Theo's 500? So I mean,
yeah, but I think the other thing to keep in mind is Nato Dickinson's a multi-use player. He played middle blocker this year. He played against him when they played against Irvine and lost, and he was playing middle for them then. He was recruited as a setter. And now all of a sudden they're finding him as an opposite. And at the moment he's hot, and that's good. And for Long Beach, they need to open up that court as much as they can. And so for me, I think the key for that match was everybody knows about Varga and everybody knows about Kendiff. Those are good players. By no means am I saying, Kendiff hit 533. It's not bad. It's nothing to slouch at. But when you're strictly kind of half court usage, meaning you got the big, you got a quick and a left side, and those are really only the people that are contributing. It puts a lot of pressure on them. And so for Nato to stand up like that and kind of stick out, they're going to need him again tonight. This is the chance. So I was impressed with Long Beach, how they settle in for the groove. I got to give my hats off to Pep and their staff. The guys did a great job this year. And they're poised to do pretty well moving forward. They got a couple of key pieces coming back. So, but a fun match to watch. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I thought this match was really interesting. And specifically due to the fact that I felt like Long Beach over the past few weeks fell into like kind of that length of the season. Obviously dealing with some injuries and I just didn't feel like they were playing with that same spark that they had early in the year, and that same intensity. And I felt like Pepperdine brought it out of them a little bit. And even going back to that Fort Valley matchup, like obviously Fort Valley is a great team, but you didn't see that same level of play that Long Beach really needed to play at in order to win a national championship. And then going into this match, and I think Jay talked about it quite a bit. Long Beach was really, really good. They had some incredible hitters. I thought Moni really got the offense going. I thought Pepperdine did a pretty dang good job of slowing Moni down offensively. I thought they really paid a lot of attention to him in the front row. But what that has a tendency to do is it has a tendency to let that opposite really get it going if you pay him a lot of attention. And Nato Dickinson was really good and super dynamic. He took something like 31 swings and killed 19 balls. So I mean he was really, really electric. I think one of the biggest deciding factors, and I thought serving was pretty darn good on both ends of the ball, but one of the biggest deciding factors to me was Cole Harkey, a guy who I think down the line could be a national team type of player. I mean, just an incredible talent. And as a freshman, has had a tremendous season. But Long Beach held him in check quite a bit. He only hit 100 on the match, and just kind of really struggled to get it going and find the consistency that Pepperdine really needed from the right side of the floor. I thought Barnett was pretty good, but at the end of the day, Long Beach just had a few too many weapons and just was a little bit better in the serve and pass game.
Yeah. Brad.
Yeah, I think really we saw some pretty high level volleyball. I think Long Beach was a little out of rhythm set one. We saw some errors there. But if you take out that set, it was very minimal errors from the attacking perspective. Some good blocks by Long Beach, some good blocks by Pepperdine, but overall, pretty clean volleyball. I think both teams were hitting right in that 400 to 500 range in first ball. And I thought a couple things that stood out just, on the Pepperdine side, I thought Haver, their outside, took some really great out of system swings against a really strong right side block, whether it be Dickinson or Nicolov. That's going to be two pretty strong blockers there for Long Beach. McRaven did end up getting a couple huge blocks there against whether it be Harkey or Haver or Barnett throughout the match that really, I thought, gave Long Beach a little bit more of an edge in terms of the block defense perspective. And then on the Pepperdine side, I think Jacob Riley was phenomenal. Serve, receive, passing, and then also defensively. He played really steady and really clean throughout. And ultimately, I think it was a tale of like kind of two different sets. And Long Beach sets 3 and 4 really started to get in a rhythm and really started to kind of find that next gear, like Theo was talking about, that we, unfortunately in the Big West, we saw a lot of throughout the year. But yeah, I thought Pepperdine had a great, awesome run. And, I didn't think it was like a Cinderella story or anything. It was just, they were playing really good volleyball at a really good time to be playing your best volleyball, and I think Ryan Barnett and Cole Hartke were kind of the two guys, especially behind that. And Gabe Dyer, former San Diego setter, went up there for grad school, did an awesome job in setting, and his defense and his setting, whenever that match was super impressive. And I was really impressed there. But Long Beach was just a little bit too much to handle. They didn't get aced much at all. Hartke had a few aces, but they just found lots of ways to fight off some pretty tough serves by Pepperdine.
And I think if I look at the stats correctly, Theo mentioned him, Hartke hit 333 in first ball and hit negative 200, I believe, in transition. And transition's half the game. And if you're not able to, on that side, keep the court wide, that can be a little bit of a challenge. But hats off to Pep. I mean, obviously Long Beach hats off, but hats off to Pep. They had a great year, and it's been a while since Pepperdine's been in that conversation. So super stoked.
Yeah. I just want to add the non-statted accolade. Jacob Riley's mustache game, insane. But he did catch my attention because of his play. Also wanted to indicate the offense that Moni ran, and Brad, you alluded to it, they kicked it into a new gear. Set number 3, Long Beach hit 7 stinking 20. 18 kills, 0 errors on 25 attempts. That is insanity. And most teams, if you hit 421 like Pepperdine did, would normally win that match. But Long Beach, they kicked it up and ended up hitting 482 for the match. So there was a lot of bombing going on in that. And I also wanted to point out, yeah, you got Dickinson, 19 kills, along with Kandev, and they hit north of 485, both of them. But look at Moni's numbers on the attack. He had 14 attempts of his own, hit 357 while chipping in 6 kills, enough to throw people off. And why not throw in 10 digs while you're at it? So Long Beach State really did, as you say, kick it into a different level in that semifinal. John Winder, great job, coach at PSF Coach of the Year. He was in the national championship match in 2008 that I got to see at UC Irvine's Brent Events Center against Penn State with a Matt Anderson and a Luke Murray. And I believe Max Holt was on that squad. So it's been some time since Pep's been back in that NCAA setting. So anything else on semifinal number 1? Are we good? Well, let's go to semifinal number 2. UCLA versus Hawaii. I'm going to shut up and let you guys take the reins on this one. So I feel like Jay's already, like, I can feel something just ready to explode out. No?
I'm going to go last. I'm going to let the two studs do their work.
All right. That's 2 studs being called.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this match was really interesting. I think both of these teams have had some injuries to the opposite position and have kind of worked to figure out how to fill it, worked to figure out how to get the level of production that's needed to play at this level. And and looking through the stats and just trying to chime in on some of the things that really stood out to me. This was really a tale of pins versus pins, and UCLA was much, much better in that department. I think Hawaii has been in incredibly good all year, and has obviously had a fantastic run through the Big West Championship and had some incredible wins throughout the season. But UCLA figured some things out, and kind of similar to the Long Beach story. I think this is a version of UCLA that we've been looking for all year, and we've seen flashes of it in strides, and we've seen some things that have looked like a national championship team, and obviously this is a national championship roster. Many of these guys here for the second time. I do want to shout out someone who's there for the first time, and that's Sean Kelly, who, this is a guy that I've essentially coached myself in multiple international tournaments when he was on the youth national team, and he's not new to tournament play. Traveling to a place that maybe you haven't been that year, maybe you haven't spent a lot of time and preparing and getting ready. And in that match against Hawaii, he hit 400, passed a 2-4, which was by far one of the best passing numbers on the match. And to do that in your freshman year, I mean, we watched Cole Harkey and some of the other freshmen and/or first-time guys on the floor attempting to play at a really, really high level, and it's tough to do. Sean Kelly was really, really fantastic. Mick Wiggin too. He was unbelievable as a blocker. We had talked about, I think Rob had pointed out multiple times what Kurt Neuscher has been for Hawaii and getting some crucial blocks in some crucial situations. And I felt like Mick Wiggin was essentially that for UCLA. Some big blocks, some big momentum swingers specifically. And then just the control and swagger of Andrew Rowan, and what that really did for that team. They dominated from start to finish. I mean, almost in every single facet, and I think that he was a big reason for it. So it was an awesome match. I think I was hoping for Hawaii to figure it out and turn it around at some point, but hats off to UCLA, man. That was one heck of a performance for them.
Yeah. All right, Brad.
Yep, that was dominating. They, I kept watching, thinking Hawaii was gonna find a little steam, find a little something, and every time they got a little bit going, UCLA came up, whether it was a big serve, big block, or just good, clean offense from the UCLA side of things. I thought overall, passing played a big piece. Sakanoko in the Big West tournament, in the Big West finals, might have been one of the best players on the court in that Hawaii Long Beach matchup in the Big West finals. And he just looked out of sorts and just not quite himself there, which, as we've seen him be one of the best players in the country, was something that, was just waiting for him to turn around and get going. But really kind of Hawaii just couldn't quite, passing wise, was probably their worst serving and passing night that I can remember in recent memory, at least for the last month and a half of season, which is a testament to UCLA's pressure from the service line. You saw with Cooper Robinson, Rama even as well, Rowan, and then you got Ito David even getting utilized to come in as a serving sub. So lots of really good pressure being applied by the UCLA servers. And I don't know if it's good or bad for UCLA, but I don't think Rama or Robinson got fully firing offensively. So maybe that's bad that they're not rolling and going headed into the final, or maybe it's good because they're due to get rolling and going into the final match tonight. I thought UCLA was pretty much better in just about every single aspect of the match, which was a credit to them getting prepped and being ready and being at their best when their best was needed.
Yeah. All right, Jay.
Very good insight by both of you young studs. Here's when I look at Hawaii this year, obviously the Big West final, I think that's the best they played as a team. And they're still missing Tatrisky, which I wonder if he would have made a difference in this last match against UCLA, because he is pretty darn good. When you watched Hawaii in this tournament, and they played Penn State, arguably Penn State, played better than they had in recent weeks, but it's still not maybe the Penn State that everybody comes to know and love, and a big town power team. And Hawaii didn't handle it perfectly, and in fact they were at 23 all in the fourth set and could have easily gone to 5, and that could have been the exit right there for Hawaii if they maybe hit a speed bump or whatever. But I know that a lot of the Hawaiian fans were not really excited about the prospects, that they thought Hawaii was going to continue to play at that level. They thought it was going to be a pretty tough go for him moving forward. I was excited to see him play. I thought, maybe we would see some things that would help their match out. But you look at UCLA's lineup, you got Cooper Robinson, you got Sean Kelly, you got Rama as your 3-headed pin monster, which is pretty big. Plus you got Cam Thorne in the middle, who is no slouch. You got Rowan throwing the rock around. Remember, there was a time a few months ago we were talking about maybe Miles Partain coming back as a libero, which how would that have worked out for him? But regardless, the guy that stepped in did a nice job too. So you're looking at UCLA right now and you're going, have they played their best match yet? I don't think they have. I mean, I was the only guy last week that said UCLA was going to three-peat, and I still stand by that. I think UCLA's got the goods. I think Sean Kelly is a true freshman coming in and doing some nice things on the left side and providing a little serve receive steadiness that helps out a great deal, especially at this level. I mean, you're a young kid that's coming in and you can handle that first contact that well. That bodes well for UCLA. But, Tread and Rohr and Sakanoko were doing some nice things, but they missed that one other piece, and that's Tatrisky. Had he been in, I think Hawaii might have had a little bit better night, and you never know what the outcome could be. But, UCLA and Long Beach is a matchup that I think a lot of people are excited about. Long Beach has gotten their number the first 2 times they saw them, but UCLA had a much different lineup. And I think Long Beach is also missing Chapanis, potentially. But I think Canduff and I think Varga have done a nice job of solidifying that left side. And if Nato Dickinson can have another good match, it's going to be a battle. And I'm really excited to watch that match today.
Well, before we go into the championship match, I wanted to add some little tidbits from the fan perspective of observing the matches. But Andrew Rowan doesn't get a lot of aces. He got 2 that night against Hawaii. But if you look at how many attempts he has from the service line, could be where they're at in that rotation 1, but he seems to camp at the service line because his serve creates a lot of havoc, and the defense in that rotation is so effective for the Bruins. And that's where points sneak up on other teams. It's when Rowan's in that rotation 1. And I haven't learned how to break it down in volumetrics, like what are the highest scoring rotations, which I'm sure you guys do, but at least from the eye test shows, when Rowan's at that service line, that's when UCLA scores their points. Also, it was just an off night for Hawaii. I mean, let's be real. They have been so strong all season long, and it just didn't turn on that night. You can see Tread Rosenthal doing everything he could, and he's going to Kearney, who is still getting the sets, but UCLA is big. There's 6'9", 6'8", and Sean Kelly, also a big freshman who had a phenomenal night. UCLA outblocked Hawaii, which was amazing, 11-4 that night. And McQuiggan was huge. He did get big blocks, and the timing, and when Hawaii's making those runs, he'd come up with a huge block. So, and there wasn't a very heavy middle offense run by either side that night. But when you got your big bangers, you can light the torch and get your team going, and they're getting shut down. That takes a little gas from you. So, anything else to close out semifinal number 2? All right. And this is the question of the day. What's going to happen in the championship between Long Beach State and UCLA, the rematch from last year at Long Beach? UCLA gets it 3-1 on a phenomenal save by Ethan Champlin and a ball being tipped wide, I believe is by Skylar Varga, to end the match. But I mean, Long Beach State's hungry. They want to do it for Moni because he's already signed his contract with Lokomotiv in Russia. He'll be gone after this season. And Jay,
how is he already signed a contract and his
Well-
eligibility is not exhausted yet?
well, that's what's being reported. So
That can't be
I'm sorry.
true. I'm going to go ahead and shoot that down. He didn't sign it yet.
He didn't sign it. There you go. Well, it's reported that he's going to be leaning towards Lokomotiv and not an Italian team. How about that?
That makes sense.
Is totally legal.
That makes sense.
everyone that's not on Long Beach, it's like, yeah, he's signed. He's gone.
He's
It's
probably
not but mad love and respect for you, Moni. Honestly, it's like you created so much trouble for our other teams. So, but what's going to happen tonight? It's on ESPN2. Kevin Barnett, Paul Sunderland, 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Are we going to be eating this thing up or what?
I think we're going to see some great volleyball. I mean, I think, you talk about from a sport perspective, and Jay kind of hinted on this. These two teams are both great. I mean, if you're a coach of either one of these teams, you're walking in going, yep, we got a shot. We absolutely got a shot. And for a national championship for our sport, that's what you want to see. You want to see two of the best teams get into the ring when they're playing some of the best volleyball they've played all year, and watch the show of a lifetime. Jay talks about this all the time, but I hope everyone is tuning in to ESPN2 to watch this thing go, because it's going to be a fun one for sure. And I don't see either one of these teams laying down at any point in time. So we're going to see someone go on a run, and I think we're going to see some big slugs come right back. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Theo has spoken. Who's next?
I think to me, you look at just kind of like the positional matchups, and you start off at setters, right? You got Nicolov, Rowan, I think 2 of the best setters, if not the 2 best setters in the NCAA this season. From there, you look at the right sides, and I think it'd be fair to say that both teams didn't necessarily expect these right side attackers to be their starting right side attackers when they, started in the fall and started off the season, started off the year. And then you go to the outside hitters, and to see the evolution between all the talent that both these programs have at the outside hitter spot. The 2 outside hitters that end up winning that spot and end up taking those roles and those positions on both sides of the court are very well deserved and very well earned. And those are 4 of the best outside hitters in the entire nation right there. And then I think in the middles, you see McRaven and Thorne going up against each other. Will be extremely, extremely great matchup. And then you have either Ben Braun or Isaiah Pruitt up against McQuiggan. Like, overall, it's some really strong matchups across the board. So I think that's going to be a ton of fun, just seeing how that all unfolds. And to me, where I see the big difference maker is going to be in Long Beach's passing. There's going to be sets that are going to run away from each team. I expect like a 25-18 here or there with a Long Beach serving run and then a UCLA serving run. So there definitely will be some big swings back and forth. And it'll be all about how the teams are going to be able to re-control their momentum in their side of the net from there. Ultimately, I think Long Beach's passing makes the biggest difference to give them lots of opportunities to attack, where even based on what we saw with the UCLA Hawaii matchup, we still saw moments where UCLA's service receive really struggled. And I think Long Beach will be able to score some points from the end line with some aces and then create a lot of tough situations for Rowan and the rest of the offense of UCLA to have to maintain against such a strong, formidable block with Long Beach.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Close out with Jay.
I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am about today's match. You have the 2 best teams in the country at the moment playing in the biggest match on an away day, so to speak, from any other sporting event that matters. I have to applaud the NCAA for making the shift this year and putting this match on a Monday when now everybody can get a chance to watch it and not have anything else kind of be in the background that might be a priority for them. So I got to give the UCLA props for that, or the NCAA props for that. You look across the board and I love what Brad talked about. Every position, there are great players that are going to go after each other. And there is no shortage of just matchup upon matchup upon matchup that you just like, man, that guy's good, but the guy across the net's that good, and that guy's good. And who's he going up against? That's going to be good. This is an absolute historic battle. The question mark is always going to be these 3 words: serve and pass. Whoever can get the most control of that first contact, whether serving or passing, is going to put themselves in a good position. Both teams are very good at blocking. And when you have some things that might be out of system, it's going to be a shot fest where guys are just going to go up and either try to blast it into the stands and let somebody get a souvenir, hopefully get a touch, or you're going to see some prolific setting from 2 of the best setters in the game right now, giving their hitters every chance they've got. This match is no shortage of an absolute battle royale. My question mark for Long Beach: can Nato Dickinson have another fantastic night and take some pressure off everybody else? My question mark for UCLA is, can their serve receive game be at a high enough level so that Rowan can run that offense at a high clip? But there is just, every team's going to have to fire on every cylinder tonight, because you're not going to get an inch anywhere. And this game is all about inches. So could not be more excited. Going to get a nice dirty martini for this one.
Yeah, that's ESPN2, 4 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Fans, got to get you guys on there watching this. I mean, we need to let all the people that are managing all these sports channels to see, and looking at ratings, that there is a demand for men's volleyball. It's about time that we get highlighted on a national stage. So I wanted to ask this question of you guys. I originally was to say, let's pick an all-tournament team, but how about if UCLA wins, who will be the MVP, versus if Long Beach State wins, who will be the MVP? Let's make it nice, clean, and easy. Let's start with you, Jay, since you went last.
Love it. I think if Long Beach wins, it's Nicolov. I think if UCLA, I think if UCLA wins, Cooper Robinson.
Okay, Brad.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth between Robinson or Rowan for if UCLA ends up winning. For the sake of putting Theo in a tough spot, I'm going to say if UCLA wins, it'll be Rowan, so Theo can be the tiebreaker there. And then I think if Long Beach wins, obviously I'd assume Nicolov would be the MVP, but I think based on a little bit of what's happened so far, I think there's a chance we could see someone else, right? Nato Dickinson had a heck of a performance as well. And Kandev also had an unreal performance in the semifinal. So I think if one of those 2 guys continues on that trend, maybe we could see that, but realistically, probably Nicolov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the easy decisions is the setters, right? And specifically with Rowan, this guy's undefeated if he wins. He's 3 for 3, right? I mean, that's pretty incredible. But yeah, I think I would take the road less traveled and go with guys that weren't even all conference honors. Sean Kelly on the UCLA side, what really didn't play most of the year, and a guy who 100% could have a massive impact on this game. I think Rob, you had alluded to the serving side for Rowan. Let me give you a serving number. Sean Kelly in that last match, he had 12 serving attempts. He point scored at 50%, 0 errors.
And he's not their
breakdown.
And he's not their fastest server.
No, he's consistent in so many ways. But the ball control is such a big deal that I wouldn't be shocked that if he has a great passing night, it's going to really, really help them out. And I think he was the difference maker against Hawaii. And then if you go on the Long Beach side, I think it's Nato Dickinson and his emergence. I mean, that's a guy that, again, he's a 5th-year senior who has played almost every position. He was recruited as a setter. He played some middle for them, and now here he is on the right side and is becoming a little bit of an unsung hero. It'd be pretty cool to see either one of those guys end up with some honors. But I think the setters are probably going to get it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I want to just mention one more thing. In Long Beach, for some reason, the last few years has had a guy at the end of the year that maybe wasn't the big time player that everybody thought they were. Last year, Nathan Harlan, ring a bell?
Yeah.
Now you have Nato Dickinson, ringing a bell. I mean, there's some good players that Long Beach has got in the wings. They got a roster of 48 guys, for Christ's sake. Somebody's got to step up somewhere. But no, it's you're absolutely right, Theo. Nate could be the guy. He could be the difference maker tonight.
Yeah. Well, the hodgepodge of things I kind of skipped over in our discussion this morning. Need to add that I may have mentioned it. Moni single season record for aces, surpassing the last winner, which was, here, you ready? Oh gosh, I don't have it. It was some from Emmanuel University that he surpassed the record, and it was like 2011. The name is escaping me, but Moni with that record, and Long Beach State 5 aces away from breaking the season record set by St. Francis last year, I believe it was. So, or 2019, those two numbers come into mind. And then another thing that Brad had dropped, Miles Partain was on that team. Well, you know what? He's too busy winning the AVP Huntington Beach with Andy Benish on Sunday. So that's why he wasn't there. So, what other pieces there? Trent Moser back to BYU, leaving Grand Canyon. So sorry about the ADHD thought process there, but had to get that all out there because there's so much going on. Yeah,
I unfortunately got to jump off. It's been a pleasure.
All right, maybe one more. Yeah, one more episode next week.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, I'll be back next week.
All right. Well, we're about to wrap it up here, so we might as well do this. That is Jay Hosick of George Mason, Theo Edwards of CSUN, Brad Rostratter, bun in the oven, but about to come out, of UC San Diego. Gentlemen, appreciate all your insight this week. Always valuable, and thankful for all of you guys. And even Dan, who's on the committee, he's working today. So I'm looking forward to chatting next week.
See you, boys.
Rob, appreciate
Enjoy
it.
the rest of your days, gentlemen.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at The Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.